What's going on YouTube? Welcome to episode 80 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zerolitos. Want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode, and just want to, if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. And today we have about 29-minute episode, kind of a long one, but going to be taking a slight break from working on the primary shuttle bay and starting our work on main engineering. And I got pretty lucky. I went on Google and I searched U.S.S. Enterprise D Engineering, and I found this great screenshot that we're going to be using as a reference today and for the entire build of the specific area. And this is why I say, just take your time, find the research, or find the reference material that you want to use in doing research, and this stuff will help you into fully fleshing out your ship. Now you can see we've already gotten just a little bit work done. We're in the lower section of our lower hull of the ship, and we've got our walkway done, and we've got our entry slash exits from the main turbo lift that's going to take us into engineering. And now we're going to build out our engineering facade. Now this bridge that we kind of have right now, we're going to be getting rid of a lot of this, because if you think about it, like this first starting point right here is this, and then these two hallways are the two entryway points to get on the turbo lift. But if you notice, if based on what we have right now, this hallway can't go straight back because then it would directly intersect with our warp core, so we can't do that. So we're going to have to make a slight alteration to what we got going on right now and make it work. But that's okay. We can make minor changes, and I think it will come out just fine. And kind of what we're building right now is, as you look right here, there's two um, doorways and kind of like this hub before it goes right into main engineering. So we're just kind of building out that facade right in this area right here. So as you can see, what I'm doing here is, rather than um, blowing this area up and making it bigger than it needs to be and going off of the size that I have to work with, since we have an abundance of room, I'm just building this out directly to what I think the size of it should be based off the picture that we have to work with. And then what we'll do is, once this area is done, then we'll cross the bridge of filling in the gaps and the empty space on the sides, which what we'll end up doing is these doorways right here will help us out with that, because we'll end up having corridors on either side of engineering. I'll basically be making a big U that goes around it. So this way we can get to the back end of the ship and just have take advantage of all that extra space there. No, I think I might actually be changing the color of the floor because you can see there on the floor that I started to work with for engineering, I made it brown to match the picture, but I don't recall if it was brown on Next Generation. It probably was, but again, this is one of the things that you're going to notice with the Enterprise D that, and I've said this to a few people because they've pointed out, variations and small differences that they notice in that between just the exterior alone of the Enterprise D, between all the seasons of Next Generation, the movie Generations, and then also Star Trek Online, there's been 6 or 7 different variants of the ship. Now, if you count the interior, they've made a lot of minor changes to that ship on the interior as well, between all the episodes of the show, the movie, and then Star Trek Online again. So, what I would say in a scenario like this is just go with whatever you think looks best. So, what I'll probably end up doing with, at least for the brown carpeting right here, I'll probably see if I can find any more pictures like this for main engineering and see if there's any other colors that I can use, or maybe just try a different color, like maybe cyan in the floor here in place of the brown. Maybe that might work. I don't know. I might have to play with that just a little bit, but that's definitely stuff to think about here. But anyway, now we're going to start kind of building out the facade of what's going to be the actual floor point that's going to be wrapping around engineering or the main warp core itself. As you can see, I'm building the warp core in this specific area for a reason, because we want the warp core to connect down into the deflector dish so that they can be connected together, because the warp core would obviously power the deflector dish, and we're probably going to have that tie in when we build out more of the deflector control room. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of like, once I just started building out the shell, the shell of what would become engineering itself, or not engineering, the deflector control room itself. That's why I stopped, because I needed to get engineering done before I went any further along with it. We'll get rid of this front line because we don't need that anymore. Okay. So far, we're looking pretty good. This doesn't look like much now, but again, this is the foundations on what will become engineering. And this is going to give us an idea of what changes we need to make. Obviously, this walkway back here, we're going to have to get rid of most of that, because all of right here is where the warp core is going to essentially be. Now, one good thing about this picture is that, like this area right here, this is something we never saw in Next Generation. But it was something that was obviously there. And this will be something that we're going to get into now that we are getting into the lower, working in a little bit of the lower section of the ship, is that we're going to be extending out the levels of engineering and having multiple decks. Because when you think about it, the size of engineering doesn't make sense to the scale of the ship. So to me anyway, it makes sense to add in a few more decks of engineering um, to help flesh out that just a little bit. And we'll get into that too. Once we build out main engineering, we'll add in a couple of decks, at least one deck going down and 2 more decks going up. So that'll be pretty cool. Now, building out this actual warp core is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but not like super hard. The hardest part about it is going to be how it has these tubes coming out at an angle on either end. That's going to be the hardest thing about it, and I think what we're ultimately going to do is adjust these tubes to being straight, because in Minecraft going at that angle, it just did not look right. It didn't give me the solid piece look that I was looking for. So that's why when you see the screenshot of engineering, you see that the warp core, that the tubes are straight. That's why I decided to make them straight, for that reason specifically. That and you'll see what I mean, because I build them out going at an angle first, and it's not, it's just not working at that angle. So that's why we're going to go back again and make that change. Looking pretty good so far. We're just building out the center of our actual warp core, because we need a reference to go off of. So this way we can kind of build out everything else around this, and we'll be in pretty good shape here. And what we're doing right now is we're just kind of messing with the shape of the warp core here, trying to land on something, because what's going to be a little bit difficult right now is that the warp core itself is going in a sphere. So we can't build off of a sphere because of the mechanics of Minecraft. We have to go off of a square base. So we have to kind of make some slight adjustments. Then on top of that, there's just really small detailing here that's going to be really hard to achieve, like with this the white circle in the middle, and then the blue accents on the side. So you can see why I had the cuts here on the side. I'm trying to replicate it, but it's not exactly coming out the way that it needs to. Now, there are ways that we can fix that, like maybe building it out going at an angle, but at the same time, the warp core is not super big either. So the size that we're already at, like that's kind of the size that we got to work with here. We go over anything more, and then it's going to get out of proportion. All right, now we're fleshing out the lower section, building the actual tube cylinder in the center. It's looking pretty decent. We got the top built in just a little bit. Even though the top, we're going to accentuate that out more than what you can see even in the picture here. Like I said, that's the top part is going to go up at least 2 decks into the neck, which I think will be necessary. And now that I'm trying to think when I did these tubes on the sides. I'm trying to remember if I did it off camera or not. I think I might have. I don't know. It could be so easy to blur some of this stuff together, especially on a build this scale. It becomes easy, very easy to kind of forget just a little bit um, on what stuff you did live and what stuff you recorded, and then also the order in which you recorded it in. Because even right now, like, we're already hitting episode 80, and we're still like in the early stages of our interior here. We're really not even in the to a point of being close to being done. But again, that just goes to scale the Enterprise D. This thing is a monster. So far, we're looking pretty good. And my work phone's ringing on a Sunday, which is kind of crazy because my job's not even open on Sunday. Anyway, getting into what we got going on here, you can see that we're kind of shaving away our walls here just a little bit, but we're looking pretty good. Now we are going to add that gray topper here, even though I've already said that we're going to be extending out engineering to higher decks. At this point in the build, I don't think that I had that established. I think I was still thinking like, well, I'll just keep it the size that it is in the picture. But as I started really fleshing this out and building it out, that's really where I determined like, I could have a little bit of fun with this thing, kind of flesh out engineering and have multiple decks. It makes sense. It makes total sense. There's no way that a ship the scale of the Enterprise D that engineering would just be this little room and then that's it. There's no way. We're looking pretty decent so far. We've got a nice template to go off of, and now really it's just a matter of fleshing all this out. You see what I'm doing with the white terracotta? I'm going the same pattern here as that gray outline. It's this way it matches, just like in the picture. Because this line that we're making right here is essentially this wall right here. Only problem is I'm going to have to actually bring that out at least by one more. Or maybe two. There we go. That looks a little bit better. So at this point, I'm just trying to figure out this white terracotta line that I had on the left. Something seems a little off about it. I don't know. It kind of looks like a little bit too elongated. Um, I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's not exactly matching what I want to have right now. This is why I always say that it's so crucially important when you're working on your foundation, when you're working on your rooms to get your foundation established, because that's going to be the selling point for the whole room. It's going to help you get your whole room together. We're also going to build out two layers, I think, of cyan concrete down here at the bottom. to establish where we're going to start to build out this lower section here. But we really won't be able to flesh that out until we get this upper section built in, because essentially this cylinder room is going to go down to those decks and go upward as well. This would be like a nice way to get some lighting down here ahead of time so it's not so dark. It's looking decent. Not perfect, but with the scale that we have to work with, we're really not going to be able to do much more detailing, at least with the lighting, get to match up to this, unless we went super big. But not really a big deal. It looks good enough, so I can live with that, I think. See, what we're building out right now is this tube that's directly behind the warp core. This is something that you really didn't see in Next Generation too much, but it was there. It had like a secondary warp tube. We're going to fill in some of these walls. Probably get a little bit more work done on this thing. And it seems like it's going at a crawl, but that's only because I'm taking my time and I want to make sure that this gets done right, so I'm not going back 50 times to make revisions to this. Really trying to get to a point where if I make one or two minor revisions, that's not a big deal, you know? I'm not super crazy about this line that I have right here, but I'm going to run with it at least for right now. The reason we're skipping a row is because there is a window right here. We're trying to emulate that window. That looks pretty good. Engineering's slowly getting there. Kind of starting to take shape. Because there's really not that much to the room, just a matter of getting it done right, you know? This side here doesn't really come out that far. I think we might go out like 3 or 4 blocks and then call it a day. Let's get the rest of this floor filled in, then we're going to do this wall. Now we won't get into it today, but this will be the next part in this build, is building out this outer wall here. We're going to be kind of starting it out, but really not getting that far, as we've only got about 4 minutes left in today's episode. But this is still exciting. I've been waiting to show some of this stuff for months now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody thinks about it, because I'm actually really happy with it. All things considered, especially considering it's my first Galaxy class that I've made in Minecraft, I'm very happy with how well this thing came out and is coming out. It's looking really good. So you can see here, I'm trying to slightly reshape our floor pattern here and make it work. But by doing this, we might have to adjust that wall there, but that's really not a big deal. We can make those slight adjustments, and that's what I'm talking about. You know, you get your template down to know what you have to work with, and you make your adjustments. But take your time doing it, so this way you don't have to make too many adjustments, because this stuff does get tedious after a while. Okay, so now we've got a template for at least the front section of our floor that's going around the warp core. Got to get rid of that blue there in the middle, but we'll get rid of that more than likely in next week's episode. Because if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that we're going to work on engineering mostly until it's done. I think I take maybe one slight break in between it, whether that's working on the other decks of engineering. Honestly, I don't remember at this point, because this whole build has just turned into one big giant blur. And I was pretty happy with, honestly, how this came out. I think the only thing that I didn't get done that I really wanted was like how it has like the red railing here going around the warp core. But on Minecraft, with the mechanics that they have, unless you get a mod, there's just no way to get railing like that, which honestly sucks, you know. I think that they could definitely do it if they were inclined to, but for whatever reason they're not inclined to, and they're just more into putting out these paid packs for the kids. Which again, you know, I've ranted about that enough. There's nothing wrong with it, but it would just be nice, you know, if they gave the game a little bit more TLC. If they gave me railings and colored half slabs and a full spectrum of illuminated blocks, I'd be a pretty happy guy. As far as the stuff that I can make in Minecraft, I really wouldn't have too many complaints. And hopefully, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe one of these days they'll add it sooner rather than later, but we'll see what happens with it. And then we're gonna make an adjustment to this wall here, because that line that I had there before, that wasn't working. And while it's not perfect to what we see in the picture there, I think this will work out pretty good, and it'll be pretty close to the reference material. But again, we have to take into account sometimes the shapes that you are working with them on, using a real reference like this. Sometimes it doesn't always translate all that well into Minecraft, so you have no choice but to make little minor exceptions here and there. But we're looking pretty good. We've got a nice little facade going here for what's going to become our main engineering. And while we're not done with it, you can those of you with imagination like myself, you can see where this is going to go. And I'm pretty happy with it. And we'll take it one episode at a time. But I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And new subscribers, don't forget to hit notifications on so you get notified when those new videos drop. And of course, you can always catch my new Minecraft episodes dropping Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And also, don't forget to join my Discord channel. I'll have a link in the description below. You can get all the latest updates regarding my YouTube channel, and it's a great place to meet new people within the community, as well as showing me your builds and a whole bunch of other cool things on the channel as well. So be sure to join. But what else? Oh, if you have any questions regarding today's episode or any builds you want to see me do, or you're just dropping by to say, hey, be sure to drop a comment below. I'll try to help you out if I can. Usually pretty responsive in the comment section. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend. I know I will. I'm going to be going on vacation this week. So I'll catch you all next week. And of course, what did you make today in Minecraft? Let me know in the comment section and on Discord.